Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Tarati Shokam Atmavit. The knower of the self crosses the grief, becomes free from samsara, meaning that he is now able to truly abide in the happiness which is his nature. Although let me make it clear here that knowledge of self is not a one-shot deal. I would not say it's a happening or an event. In my opinion, it is a process which culminates into totally abiding in the true nature of oneself. Which means that when you live life which is in harmony with, which is consistent with the reality of our life, the reality of our own self, the reality of the world, as we start living life like that, we are living life in harmony with the self. So as we said, the self-knowledge takes place in two stages. One is living a life in harmony with the nature of the self, and secondly, knowing the self as it is. So we quoted that verse from Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. First stage is Karma Yoga, living life in harmony with the realities, Jnana Yogena, and then knowing the self by contemplating upon the true nature of the self. First, living the life in keeping with the nature of self, and second is contemplating upon the nature of the self. Lord Krishna begins with the second step of instructing Arjuna about the realities of life. not knowing the realities and having known or understood realities, not gracefully accepting them, resisting them. So resisting the realities, not gracefully accepting the realities causes a conflict which causes grief or sadness. And therefore the first step would be to understand the realities and living a life which is based on the graceful acceptance of these realities, in harmony with the realities. And then second stage is knowing the reality. Lord Krishna said, this is the second chapter. We quoted a part of that verse. Jatasya hi dhruva mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Death is certain for the one who is born, and birth is certain for the one who dies. By saying this, Lord Krishna is revealing the reality about the life, that the birth and death are like the two sides of a coin. And therefore death is going to happen for the one who is born. Apariharyarthe, this is something inevitable. There are many things that are inevitable in life. Because it is the nature of things to act as they are designed, and we cannot change the nature of things. We cannot change the laws which govern this creation, the universe. We cannot change the laws which govern our life. And therefore, the wise thing is to live a life compatible with those laws, which first requires understanding what those laws are, and secondly, what does it mean to live a life in harmony with those laws? It would call yoga. Living life in harmony with the laws or realities would be called yoga. And finally, understanding those realities as very self would be called jnanam. So Lord Krishna says, Tasmad apariharyarthe natvam shochatum arhasi. Here, Arjuna, I have revealed before you the basic reality of life. That Atma, the self, is nitya, eternal. Avinashitu tadviddhi yena sarvidam tatam. Avinashitu tadviddhi yena sarvidam tatam vyanashamasya vyasyasya na kaschit kartum arhasi. Arjuna understand that way, Avinashi, indestructible. Yena sarvam idam tatam, the one by whom everything is pervaded, which is everywhere, which provides the satta and spurti, which provides the existence and intelligence and the ability to manifest to everything. Avinashi, indestructible. Vinasham asya avyasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. Asya avyasya, of this indestructible, vinasham na kaschit kartum arhati. Nobody can bring about the vinash or destruction of this indestructible. That is called indestructible, which cannot be destroyed. Thus, what we experience all around ourselves is all these perishable, destructible things, no doubt. Including our body also is destructible, perishable, and so also our mind, intellect, all of this is constantly changing. Vyaya means change or modification. Everything that we experience is changing. That's how life is. So you presume that the experiencer also is changing. What we experience is changing and perishable. And we think that that is the reality. Lord Krishna says no. The fact that you are aware of change, you are aware of the things that are perishing, means that there must be a changeless reference point. There must be a reference point with which we measure the change. That we see and experience everything changing. We experience our body, mind, sense complex, everything is changing. But change is not the ultimate reality of life. Although there are Buddhas who sages, change is the reality of life. No. Because change cannot be sensed unless there is an unchanging frame of reference. So Lord Krishna says, whereas what all you experience is changing, you the experiencer is changeless. Avinasitu tadviddhi. Recognize this. If you think that change is the only reality, then our life is of one kind. When we realize that change is not the only reality, there is a changeless. Yena saramidam tadam. The one that is all pervasive, all including. Antavanta ime dehaha nityasya ukta sharirinaha. So Lord Krishna calls the self, the subject, the knower, as Shariri, as the one that possesses the Sharira, one that possesses the body, the indweller of the body, if you want to call it. Arjuna, body is not the only reality. There is Shariri, there is the one possessing the body. You may call it the indweller of the body. Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirina. Ime deha, all these bodies. Nityasya sharirina. Of the shariri, of the embodied one, the one possessing the body, who is nitya, who is eternal. Anashano prameyasya, who is anashi. Aprameya, immeasurable, meaning who is limitless. So whereas the body, my body means body, mind, sense complex, is limited, insignificant, perishable, changing. Antavanta ime dehaha nityasyukta sharirinaha. These bodies, this of the Shariri, of the Atma, Rantavanta, they are all perishable. But that's not the only reality about you. About you, there is something changing, something perishable. At the same time, something that does not change, something that is imperishable. Take that also into account. Don't draw all your conclusion about yourself only based on the change. Don't think life is only that which changes. life also has something that does not change. By not knowing the changeless, by not taking into account the changeless, and always focusing attention on the changing, thinking that to be the only reality, has created this kind of emotional situation in me. Vedanta does not deny the change, does not deny the changing entities, does not deny the perishable things. But in your equation, not only the perishable should be taken into account, there is the imperishable also. Vinashyatsu avinashyantam. Vinashyatsu, in the midst of the vinashi, the mortal, the perishable, avinashyantam, the imperishable. That is a very important thing to know and also take into account. If body is all that I think is, and the whole of my life is designed and based on this body, then there is nothing but change and there is nothing but misery in our life. Body is changing, the relationships also are changing, but it's when body relates to the body. On that account, our relations also become very changing. They also become impermanent. But there is something else. And it's possible that we can establish relationship even at that level. That's the reality. So Lord Krishna invites us to this level of reality. Anashano prameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata. Hey Bharata, therefore yudhyasva, may you perform your duty, may you fight, because antavanta ime dehaha, these bodies are antavantaha, it is a nature to perish. Regardless of what you do. And Shariri is nityasya, Shariri is nitya, and you can't do anything to that. Keep this in mind. When you look upon Bhishma, Drona and others, don't look upon them simply as Sharira, as perishable. Understand that along with that goes the Ashariri. The Shariri, the possessor of the body, who is Ashariram, who is bodiless, who is imperishable, who is changeless, who is always there, who is your very self, who is never separate from you. Yena sarvamidam tatam, Lord Krishna says, that by which, or by whom, all of this is pervaded. Here, Arjuna, don't think that you are confined to this space and time here. Yena sarvamidam tatam, by whom all of this is pervaded. Thereby, giving an insight to Arjuna as to what your true dimension is. This body-mind sense complex is there, but that is not your dimension. You are not just confined to that. Yena sarvidam titam tatam avinashu tadvidhi, that you are Avinashi, by whom all of this is pervaded, who is all-inclusive, who is the self of all. So the perishable should be, the imperishable should be taken into account while we are thinking of the perishable. If all that is in our mind is perishable, then life is miserable. There is no hope that we can ever be happy. Because what comes will go, that's the rule of the life. Sarve nichayaha kshayantaha. All that is collected, all the wealth of the treasure is ultimately going to be spent. Could be lost also. Sanyogaha vyogantaha. All associations will end in disassociation. Whereas all these rules, what goes up comes down and so on and so forth, all these rules are there. You can't change them. But if this is all life is about, then the life cannot be happy. But this is only one small aspect of life. Understand, in all this changing, separating, uniting, and all these things that happen, there is you who is changeless, imperishable, all-pervading, all-inclusive, who cannot be affected by any of these things. So keep that in mind also. When we deal with the situation, we must take all the factors into account, is it not so? When we make a decision, should we not take into account everything that is involved and everything that plays part in it, everything that influences it? So this very important thing is overlooked by us. Lord Krishna says that take that into account. In which case we'll realize that there's changes there. There is something mortal, something perishable, no doubt it is there. And it has a place in our life. But it should be given its proper place, proper respect. That there is imperishable also, there is changeless also, something that can never leave me, something that can never be unfaithful to me. Our Swami used to say that the human being is searching for the infallible, one that never disappoints him, never fails him, is always trustworthy. Understand that is what we are searching for in all our searches, in all our endeavors. And that is you, that is there. What you are searching for, what you want to become, is already there. And that is you. Take that also into account. That infallible is not to be searched for from somewhere outside, it is to be discovered as your own self. So even if we understand this intellectually, if you understand that just as every moment we take into account this perishable, changing entity, that is our body and the life in the world, every moment also the imperishable, changeless self is involved, is always there. And what should I become my refuge? What should I hold on to? Where should my trust be? Not in the changing things, not in perishable things. And all relations are also like that ultimately, because the two related also are changing. But all the changing also, my refuge should be in the changeless. Then the change will not bother me, will not make me unhappy, then I can enjoy the change. Vedanta does not ask us to discard the changing, the perishable, the mortal, but with a proper understanding, with a healthy relationship, a relationship that is based on the realities will enable us to be comfortable, composed and enjoy even the perishable. So this is the first lesson that Lord Krishna gives. Tasmad evam viditvainam natvam shochitam arhasi. Therefore Arjuna, eram evam viditva, knowing the self in this manner, naivam shochitam arhasi, it is not right for you to grieve the way you are grieving. You are grieving because for you the changing, the perishable is the only thing that exists, is the only reality. No. There is the changeless, the imperishable, and that is you, the self. If you know that, there cannot be any grief. So this is one lesson that Lord Krishna gives. Just to remind you that I'm talking from Ahmedabad, Right now the temperature is 110 degrees. Anyway, the other thing that causes grief to Arjuna and every human being is again his own perception of himself. One perception is, I am mortal and others are mortal. That's one perception. Second is that I am a villain and I am a victim. That's another perception we have of ourselves. In Vedanta, looking upon the self as karta and bhokta. Not knowing the true nature of myself as changeless, imperishable. What ignorance makes me do is superimpose the nature of the upadhi, nature of the body, mind, sense complex. And I superimpose that upon the self and then judge the self. It is like a very wealthy actor who is playing the role of a beggar. And for whatever reason starts thinking that he is a real beggar, that I am a beggar. Which means that the attributes of the costume are superimposed upon the self and then he judges that I am a beggar. And any person is as good as the person's perception. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is how I perceive myself. So all this teaching right now is to change that perception. That I am a mortal being and all my loved ones are also mortal beings. That's the perception which Lord Krishna asked us to change by understanding the realities. Second perception I have is I am a karta. I am the agent of performing actions. I do things. Right now, for example, when I am talking, I am a speaker. You are listening to me, you are listeners. Pranamneva prana bhavati vadan vak pashyan chakshuhu shrun sutram manvano manah, says the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Says eha pravishta anakhagrebhyah. A story is being told that Atma has to enter this body, mind, sense complex, and enliven the whole complex up to the tip of the nail. But then what happened? Praneva prana bhavati. When this respiratory system breathes, he says, I am breathing. Vadan Vak. When the organ of speech is talking, he says, speaking, he says, I am speaking. Pashyan Chakshu. When the organ of sight or eyes are seeing, he says, I am seeing. Shruman Shrutram. When the organ of hearing is hearing, he says, I am hearing, I am the hearer, I am the seer, I am the hearer, I am the speaker, I am the breather. Manvano Manaha. It is the mind that thinks. And the Atma says, I am the thinker. So thus the Upanishad explains these habitual conclusions that we have about ourselves, and therefore the habitual perception that we have about ourselves. That I am a speaker, I am a listener, I am a thinker, I am a walker, I am a talker, I am a doer, I am an eater, so forth. Prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasah ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. Prakrute gunai prakrute vikaraihi karmani sarvasah kriyamanani. Lord Krishna says that all the actions in every way are performed by the modifications of Prakriti, the modifications of matter, by this personality. It is the body, sense, mind, intellect complex that performs all the actions in every way. And actions are performed at the level of body, actions are performed at the level of speech, actions are performed at the level of mind. Nyayam va viparitam va panchayate tasya hetava. Again Lord Krishna says in the 18th chapter, whether good, bad or indifferent, whatever action is performed by this upadhi. Ahankara vimudhatma karta vitamanyate. But one whose mind is totally deluded, variously deluded on account of ahankara, on account of identification, Kartaham, I am the doer, is manyate, that's what he thinks. That's a complex or notion that he entertains. I am the doer. Meaning, I am the breather, I am the speaker, I am the listener, I am the seer, I am the talker, I am the thinker. So what's the big deal, Swami? So that's what it is. That's the big thing. Because then I look upon myself as responsible for everything that I do. Naturally, I'm a very conscientious person. I have values about myself as to what I should do, what I should not do, what is right for me, what is not right for me. I have this kind of consciousness about myself. I'm a self-conscious and conscious being, conscientious being, let us say. So I expect from myself that I should be truthful, I should be non-violent, I should be a good person. Everybody expects this from themselves. Because that is the true nature of the self. Atma is non-violent. In essence, we are non-violent, we are truthful, we are good, kind, loving persons. That's what we truly are. And therefore, that is the expectation that we have of ourselves, rightfully so. But unfortunately, the non-self is mixed up with the self. And therefore the nature of self is as though changed. In the 7th chapter, Lord Krishna describes His glories. That I am the sound in the space, I am the light in the sun, I am the heat in the fire. Then He says, Punyo Gandha, I am the pure smell, I am the fragrance in the earth. But if you are the good smell, what about this odor which is, the bad smell? Lord Krishna says, by nature, punyo gandha, I am the pure fragrance. I am the enjoyable fragrance. That's what my nature is. Then what about this durgandha? What about this stink? Lord Krishna says, that is because of the mixing of the karma and the non-self matter, etc. Similarly also, I am pure by nature. I am kind, loving, pure, good, non-violent being by nature. But because of the mixture of the non-self, which is impure, I have as though become impure. And therefore, these evils of kama, krodha, lobha, the lust and anger and greed and jealousy and all these demons also have entered into my mind and polluted my mind. Therefore, I am not always able to act as truly what I am, meaning that ideally and what I would like is that I should be a kind, loving, good person. Charitable, generous, accepting, forgiving, accommodating, compassionate. But because of the impurities that have entered my mind and polluted my mind, very often when I am controlled by them, then I find myself behaving in contrary manner. Whereas non-violence is my value, I find myself often acting as a violent person. Even though honesty or truthfulness is my value, I do find myself sometimes compromising truth, not always honest, not always open, not always transparent because of my fears, my insecurities. So very often I find myself quite contrary to what I like to be or what I expect from myself, and this is when guilt is created in me. When I find myself quite contrary to what I want to be or what I want to see myself to be, I feel bad about myself. I disapprove of myself. I dislike myself. Sometimes reject myself. Sometimes condemn myself. I feel guilty. So thus this sense of doership that I am doing things, that I am speaking, I am hearing, I am eating, then whenever I speak something which is against my value, then I feel bad about myself. I should not have said it. I regret. Whenever I hear something that I regret later, I should not have heard this. Why did I allow myself to hear this kind of stuff? Why did I read that thing? Why did I watch that thing? Why did I do that? Momentarily something takes over me. It may be my lust, it may be my anger, greed, jealousy, controls me. And at that time what I do is quite contrary to my value. When I recover from that, then I regret. I feel guilty. So sense of guilt. When I look upon myself as a villain, if I hurt somebody by my words, hurt somebody by my actions, physically hurt them, emotionally hurt them, hurt by depriving them of their basic freedom, basic rights, basic dignity. I do that as dictated by some emotion or some impulse from myself, but later I regret. Sense of guilt. This is a tremendous cause of sadness. And unfortunately it happens often. Because this kama, krodha, lobha, these impulses are there in me. And very often those impulses take over when I am not alert. When I am alert, then I keep myself free from their influence. But when I am not alert, they take control of me and make me do things against my will. Atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichannapi varshanaya baladiva niyojitaha. Arjuna asks, "O Lord, what is it within the person which makes the person act against his own will, act against his own values, which he regrets later on? Why does a person commit papa? Why does he commit an action that goes against the laws, or against the rules, or against harmony?" Lord Krishna says impulses. Kameshaha, krodeshaha, we can say lobeshaha. So when kartrutva is there, when the sense of doership is there, there's always a possibility of doing something which I regret later, which then creates in me a sense of guilt. When I look upon myself as a villain, as one who hurt somebody, then there is a sense of guilt, which is a source of unhappiness. And the other side of this, other side of the coin, is bhoktrutva. Bhoktrutva means that when I become the object of someone else's action, when I become victim of someone's action, when someone is villain and I am the victim, that's the bhokta, the bhoktrutva. The bhoktrutva also belongs to upadhi, to the body-mind sense complex, to the mind in particular. The kartrutva belongs to intellect, the bhoktrutva belongs to the mind in particular. But again, because of ignorance, I superimpose their attributes upon myself and declare myself as bhokta, as experiencer. And in normal conditions it is all right. But very often, when I'm experiencing things, I feel that I'm being victimized. When someone hurts me, someone insults me, someone violates my rights, someone violates my dignity, I feel hurt. It's very common. Because when we interact with the world, it's going to happen. People do push our buttons, and provoke us. We get provoked, and that anger etc. takes over us, and then we do things which are unbecoming of us. And by the same token, someone I'm made to do wrong things, or I become the victim of someone's wrong things. I may be innocent. I'm hurt. So, kartrutva has a potential of bringing about guilt, and bhoktrutva has a potential about bringing hurt. Hurt and guilt are also great sources of sorrow at the level of ego, ahankara. The separation from a near and dear one, either by distance or otherwise or by death, is an emotion, is suffering is an emotional problem. This hurt and guilt are the problems at the level of ego. It's ego that declares that I am karta, kartahamiti manyate. Ego that I am the bhokta. I did this, and therefore this belongs to me. I must get the result, I must get the outcome, I must get the benefit. So kartrutva and bhoktrutva, both of these are the problems of Arjuna, as of anybody else. So that is what made Arjuna think that I'll become the agent of action of killing. Aho bata mahat papam kartum vyavasitavayam. We quoted this verse. Yad rajya sakhalobhena hantum svajan mudyata. Aho bata mahat papam kartum. That we are ready to perform this mahat papa, this great sin. Yad rajya sakhalobhena. That prompted by the greed for the kingdom and the pleasure, hantum svajanam udyataha, svajanam hantum udyataha, that we are now ready to kill our near and dear ones. Mahat papam, great sin. A great sense of guilt Arjuna has. And so when guilt is there, someday hurt also will be there. Therefore Lord Krishna addresses this problem also, of hurt and guilt, of kartrutva and bhoktrutva. Lord Krishna says again in the second chapter, Ya enam veti hantaram, yaschenam manyate hatam, ubhau tau na vijanitaha, nayam hanti na hanyate. Ya enam veti hantaram, yaha enam atmana hantaram veti. One looks upon the self as hanta. Hanta means killer. Killer means the agent of the act of killing. Hanta hanana karta. The karta or the doer or the agent of act of hananam, of killing. Yaschenam manyate hatam. Someone thinks that he is killed. Someone, Arjuna, thinks that he is killer. Someone else may think that hatam, I am killed. Meaning that I am the object of the action of someone else's action of killing. That's a bhoktrutva. So kartrutva and bhoktrutva are described by Lord Krishna as hanta and hata. Hanta, the one who kills. Hata, the one who is killed. The act of killing is presented here only as an example. because of the context of death. Therefore, Lord Krishna talks about killing and being killed. But that applies that in fact represents every action. So here Lord Krishna is one who thinks that he is an agent of killing, meaning one who thinks that he is karta, agent of any action. Yaschenam manyate hetam, one who looks upon the Atma as hata, as killed, meaning that one looks upon oneself as the object of any action. Subject of an action is karta, the doer. Object of an action is bhokta, the experiencer. So one who looks upon oneself as a doer and or experiencer, ubhau tav na vijanitaha. Lord Krishna says, both of them do not know the nature of the self. So this is how Lord Krishna describes how ignorance plays out in our life. How do we know that we are ignorant of the true nature of the self? Lord Krishna says, one who thinks that is a karta, the agent of an action, and bhokta, the victim of an action, ubhau tav na vijanitaha. Both of them do not know. What do they not know? They do not know the self. Why? Nayam hanti na hanyate, ayam na hanti, ayam atma na hanti. Because this self or the atma does not kill. Na hanyate, nor does the self gets killed. He neither kills nor does he get killed. Meaning that he neither performs actions nor does he become the object of somebody else's action. Well, in fact, when Lord Krishna said that the self does not die, ajo nityah shashvatah ayam puranaha, the self is free from birth and free from death, and they were free from in between, whatever modifications there in between. They talk of the 6 modifications typically that a body goes through. Jayate, asti, vardate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. Jayate is born, asti is, vardate grows, viparinamate becomes mature, apakshiyate declines, vinashyati perishes. This is the course through which all the bodies go through. But Lord Krishna says all of these changes or modifications belong to body. Ajo nitya na jayate mriyate va kadachit. Kadachit na jayate, the self is never born. Na mriyate, it never dies. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam purana. From birth and death and growth and decay, from all modifications. So by denying modifications in the self, the kartrutva, bhoktrutva also are denied. Not only birth and death are denied, but all modifications are denied. And kartrutva, the doership, also is a vikara, is also a modification. Bhoktrutva also is a vikara, is also a modification. So Lord Krishna does not separately deny kartrutva, bhoktrutva. But by denying all modifications in the self, the kartrutva, bhoktrutva are denied by default. But then specifically also says later on, as I just quoted the verse, that all the actions are performed by these modifications of the matter, the upadhi, and that kartrutva, bhoktrutva notions arising from identification. But still the nature of self is very clearly revealed in the 4th chapter. Karmani akarmayah pashed akarmani cha karmayah. Lord Krishna says when action is performed, it is performed by this body-mind sense complex. At that time also, Atma is akarma, Atma is actionless, akarta. Even non-performing action also belongs to body. So performing action and not performing action, both of these belong to body or this upadhi. Doing all of that, Atma is akarta, actionless. So that the self is actionless is revealed little later on. The 5th chapter it is more clearly said. Naiva kinchit karometi yukto manyeta tattvavit. Lord Krishna says, Tattvavid, the knower of tattva, the knower of self, knows, Naiva kinchit karometi. I do not do anything. Meaning I am actionless. Pashyan, shrunvan, sprushan, jigran, ashnan, gachan, swapan, shvasan. While performing all these routine actions of seeing, hearing, talking, walking, thinking, breathing, sleeping, waking, while performing all these actions, he says, Naiva kinchit karometi, I do not do anything. Then who does these things? Who is hearing? Who is seeing? Who is talking? Who is eating? Indriyani indriyaseshu vartante. The wise person knows that it is the sense organs that interact with the sense objects. With the respective objects, that is called karma. So we mentioned earlier, vad and vak, whereas it is organ of speech that performs the act of speaking, habitually I say, I am the speaker. But in reality, speakingness is not in me, hearingness is not in me, thinkingness is not in me. All these actions, they all take place in my presence. I am the consciousness, the very presence. In whose presence all this body, mind, sense complex is enlivened and performs its activities. So in reality I am akarta, I am abhokta. So now keep that in mind. We are asked to keep that also in mind. That even when I am talking, I am speaking, hearing, I am performing all these activities, in my perception, all that I am is I am a speaker, hearer, thinker. Lord Krishna says there is another dimension also. What's the dimension? That you are actionless. It is actionless that is speaking, actionless that is thinking, actionless that is eating. How can actionless speak? Meaning that in the presence of actionless self, all these actions take place. Which means that kartrutva or bhoktrutva, the doership or experience-ship, are not there truly in the self. And if he knew that, there was no complex that I am a karta or a bhokta, that I am a killer or I am being killed. So Arjuna is educated in the context in which his state of mind is, where He thinks that I'm going to be the killer of all these people. Therefore, Lord Krishna uses the example of killing. And that they will all be killed by me. Therefore, Lord Krishna is the example of being killed. It is true that there is killing. There is killed, something is killed, no doubt. But not what you think. The self does not kill, and self is not killed. With that knowledge of a self, Atmavit, one who knows that, does not suffer from this complex of hurt and guilt. And therefore, it remains free from shoka, the grief arising from them. So, two major sources of grief. One is the death of a loved one. Other is the level of this ego, where there is hurt and guilt. Lord Krishna revealed the nature of the self and showed us how. Atmavit, if we truly knew the nature of the self, then all this suffering would not come to us. Tardishogam Atmavit, the knower of the self would cross all this grief. We'll continue. Om. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vadarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.